The ancient artifact felt warm against Orion's palm as he carefully brushed away centuries of dust. The excavation site at Denali Ridge had yielded dozens of curious items over the past 3 weeks, but this small amulet, no larger than a pocket watch, pulsed with an energy unlike anything he'd encountered. "Find something interesting?" Phoebe asked, peering over his shoulder. As the site director, she had an uncanny sense for when someone discovered something significant. Orion tilted the amulet toward the light. Its milky surface shifted with internal constellations that seemed to move of their own accord. "It's unlike any material I've seen, not quite stone, not quite crystal." "Bag it for analysis," Phoebe instructed, already moving on to check another team's progress. But Orion hesitated. Something about the artifact called to him like a melody just beyond hearing. When the workday ended and the rest of the team retired to their tents, he remained by the fire, the amulet cupped in his hands. "You really shouldn't handle unclassified artifacts outside protocol," came a soft voice from the darkness. Orion started, nearly dropping the amulet. He squinted into the night. "Who's there?" A woman stepped into the firelight and Orion's breath caught. Her skin had an opalescent quality that caught the firelight in impossible ways. Her hair, dark as space itself, seemed to contain pinpricks of light like distant stars. She wore simple clothes, a fitted black jacket and pants that might have passed for normal if not for the subtle geometric patterns that shifted across the fabric. "My name is Thalia," she said, her eyes fixed on the amulet in his hands. "And you're holding something that belongs to me." Orion's archaeological training warred with his instincts. The amulet had been buried for centuries, possibly millennia. This was excavated from a site dating back at least 3,000 years. "Yes," she agreed simply, extending her hand. "I lost it here 3,042 years ago." Something in her unwavering gaze made Orion believe her despite the impossibility. He rose slowly. "What are you?" A small smile touched her lips. "In your language, the closest term would be celestial. My home is what you call the Pleiades cluster." Orion's mind reeled. He'd spent his career searching for evidence of extraterrestrial contact in ancient civilizations, enduring mockery from colleagues for his theories. Now proof stood before him, hand outstretched. "The amulet, please," Thalia repeated, an edge of urgency in her voice. "It's not safe for you to handle it." As if responding to her words, the artifact pulsed warmly. Orion extended it toward her, but just as her fingers brushed his foot caught on an exposed root. He stumbled forward, their hands colliding. The amulet dropped, striking a stone at their feet. A sound like a crystal bell tolled through the night as the amulet split perfectly down the middle. Light erupted from the fracture, enveloping them both in a cocoon of brilliant stardust. Orion felt a searing heat blooming in his chest, an invisible thread spinning out from his heart to connect with Thalia's. Her eyes widened in what appeared to be horror. "No," she whispered as the light faded, "this cannot be." The broken pieces of the amulet now lay dull and lifeless on the ground. Orion picked them up, feeling strangely hollow as the distance between himself and Thalia grew. "I'm sorry," he offered, holding out the broken halves. "Maybe it can be repaired." Thalia shook her head, backing away. "You don't understand what's happened. The amulet wasn't just a possession, it was my anchor, my celestial seal. It contained the essence of my lineage," her voice faltered. "And now that essence has formed a bond with you." "A bond?" Orion repeated, suddenly aware of a strange warmth pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat, except it wasn't his heartbeat. Somehow he could feel Thalia's presence, her emotions washing over him like waves. "It's a life bond," she explained, distress evident in her voice. "Among my people it's sacred, unbreakable, formed only between celestials who are destined to be paired, never with," she hesitated, "humans." Orion should have felt offended, but through their new connection he sensed her fear wasn't born of prejudice but genuine concern. "What happens now?" Thalia looked up at the night sky, her expression tightening. "Now we run. The breaking of my seal will have alerted others of my kind. Not all celestials view humans favorably." "I can't just leave," Orion protested, gesturing at the camp. "My work, my research." "Your life," Thalia cut in sharply. "The sentinels who guard our boundaries will not hesitate to eliminate what they perceive as a contamination. A human bonded with celestial essence threatens everything they stand for." As if emphasizing her point, a streak of blue light cut across the sky overhead, too fast and too deliberate to be a meteor. "They're already coming," Thalia whispered. Orion felt her fear through their bond, genuine and urgent. He made a split-second decision, grabbing his backpack from beside the fire. "What do we need to do?" Relief flickered across her features. "We need to reach the nearest gateway. There's one in these mountains, a passage to my realm where we can seek sanctuary until we understand the full nature of our bond. Orion shouldered his pack, tucking the broken amulet pieces inside. Lead the way. As they slipped into the darkness of the surrounding forest, Orion felt something strange, a tingling sensation spreading from his chest to his fingertips. When he glanced down, his hands momentarily gleamed with the same opalescent quality as Thalia's skin. The bond is already changing you, Thalia observed softly. I've never witnessed this with a human before. Is that bad? Orion asked, flexing his fingers as the glow faded. Thalia's expression was unreadable. It's unprecedented. The ancient texts speak of cosmic unions, but they were thought to be mere legends. Another streak of light crossed the sky, closer this time. Through their connection, Orion felt Thalia's spike of alarm. We need to move faster, she urged. The gateway is hidden within a cave system 3 miles north. As they hurried through the underbrush, Orion found himself surprisingly capable of keeping pace with her. The bond seemed to be enhancing his physical abilities, matching his endurance to hers. Why are they hunting us? He asked between breaths. Surely your people don't kill over a simple accident. Thalia ducked under a low-hanging branch. The Sentinels believe in absolute purity of essence. A human carrying celestial energy disrupts thousands of years of tradition. And, she hesitated, there's a prophecy about the joining of our worlds. Some fear it, others await it. And which side are you on? Orion asked, feeling oddly vulnerable despite having known her less than an hour. Thalia stopped abruptly, turning to face him. In the dappled moonlight filtering through the trees, her eyes reflected starlight. I never had an opinion until tonight, but now, she placed a hand over her heart where their bond pulsed, now I find myself hoping the prophecy is true. The sincerity in her voice resonated through their connection. Orion felt himself drawn to her, not just by their magical bond, but by something more fundamental, curiosity, respect, and an undeniable attraction that transcended species. A sudden crack like thunder split the night, the forest behind them illuminated with harsh blue light. The Sentinels, Thalia breathed, they've tracked the amulet's fracture point. She grabbed Orion's hand and energy surged between them. Run. As they fled through the ancient forest, Orion realized his life had irrevocably changed. Whatever awaited them, sanctuary or danger, answers or more questions, he and this celestial being were now bound together by forces beyond their control. And strangely, despite the danger and uncertainty, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. Dawn broke through the canopy as Thalia led Orion deeper into the mountains. They had been moving for hours, stopping only when necessary, the presence of their pursuers a constant shadow behind them. We're close now, Thalia said, her voice barely above a whisper. The entrance should be just beyond that ridge. Orion nodded, too exhausted for words. Despite the enhanced stamina from their bond, his human body had limits and they were rapidly approaching. Through their connection, he sensed Thalia's concern for him, a gentle warmth that somehow made the fatigue more bearable. The ridgeline revealed a sheer cliff face, seemingly impenetrable. Orion looked at Thalia questioningly. You won't see it with ordinary vision, she explained, reaching for his hand. Close your eyes and feel through our bond. Their fingers intertwined, and immediately Orion felt a surge of energy, like cool water flowing through his veins. When he opened his eyes again, the world had changed. Overlaid on his normal vision was a web of luminous threads, and there, in the solid rock face, a doorway shimmered with silvery light. The gateway, he breathed. Thalia nodded, her expression softening with what might have been pride. Few humans have ever perceived a celestial threshold. The bond is strengthening faster than I expected. As they approached the entrance, Orion felt a distinct pressure, as if the air itself were resisting their passage. Thalia placed her palm against the invisible barrier, murmuring words in a language that seemed composed of light and melody rather than sound. The barrier trembled, then parted like a curtain. Quickly, she urged, pulling him through. The transition was disorienting, a momentary sensation of weightlessness followed by a rush of unfamiliar sensations. When Orion's vision cleared, he found himself standing in what appeared to be a vast garden enclosed within crystal walls. Above them stretched a lavender sky scattered with stars despite the apparent daylight. Surrounding them, plants unlike any he'd seen on Earth swayed gently, their translucent leaves catching the light in hypnotic patterns. Welcome to the Eversong Gardens, Thalia said, her posture relaxing slightly for the first time since they'd met. One of the few neutral territories in the celestial realm. Orion turned slowly, taking in the otherworldly beauty around them. It's incredible, he murmured, reaching out to touch a nearby bloom that seemed composed of living light. The flower responded to his touch, its petals unfurling further and releasing a soft chime. The gardens respond to emotion and intent, Thalia explained, watching him with curious eyes. They seem to like you. Unlike the sentinels, Orion remarked wryly. Thalia's expression darkened. The barrier will hold them back temporarily, but we need allies. She gestured for him to follow as she led him along a crystalline path that hummed softly underfoot. There's someone here who might help us understand our bond and perhaps protect us. They walked in companionable silence, Orion absorbing the wonders around him with the keen eye of an archaeologist. Occasionally, he would pause to examine a particular formation or plant, and Thalia would patiently explain its properties. Through their bond, he sensed her amusement at his curiosity and something else, a growing affection that mirrored his own feelings. The path widened, revealing a clearing dominated by a structure that resembled a temple made of intertwined crystal branches. Standing at its entrance was a figure unlike any Orion had seen, tall and willowy with skin like polished bronze that shifted with inner constellations, hair floating around their head as if underwater. Thalia of the Seven Sisters, the figure greeted, their voice resonating like a struck bell. You bring a human into our sanctuary, and one who carries your essence no less. Thalia bowed respectfully. Oracle Javan, I seek your wisdom. The breaking of my seal was accidental, but the bond it created is real. I must understand its purpose. The oracle's gaze shifted to Orion, their eyes swirling galaxies of violet and silver. Step forward, Starchild. Orion glanced at Thalia, who nodded encouragingly. He approached the oracle, fighting the urge to shrink under their penetrating gaze. Your name, they asked. Orion Westcott, he replied, surprised by the steadiness in his voice. A smile touched the oracle's lips. Named for stars even before you carried their essence within you, interesting. They reached out, placing cool fingertips against Orion's forehead. Immediately his mind filled with visions, constellations rearranging themselves, worlds colliding yet not destroying each other, a bridge of light spanning between two realms. When the oracle withdrew their touch, Orion staggered slightly, steadied by Thalia's hand at his elbow. The bond between you is ancient in design, though new in manifestation, the oracle announced. It was prophesied in the first concordance that celestial and terrestrial would one day unite, creating a bridge between realms. But the amulet breaking was an accident, Orion protested. The oracle's expression remained serene. There are no accidents in cosmic alignment, only moments of convergence we fail to recognize until they occur. A distant sound like shattering glass echoed through the gardens. The oracle's expression turned grave. The sentinels have breached the outer barrier sooner than expected. They must have support from someone within the Celestial Council. They turned to Thalia. Take him to the inner sanctum. I will delay them and send word to your sister. Thalia's surprise rippled through their bond. Selene is here. I thought she remained neutral in council matters. Your sister chooses her moments of intervention carefully, the oracle replied cryptically. Now go. As they hurried deeper into the gardens, following a path that seemed to materialize beneath their feet, Orion felt Thalia's emotions churning through their connection. Hope mingled with apprehension. Who's Selene? He asked. My sister, Thalia replied, the eldest of our stellar family. She withdrew from celestial politics centuries ago to pursue the deeper mysteries of our existence. They arrived at what appeared to be a dead end, a wall of crystal so clear it was nearly invisible. Thalia pressed her palm against it, and like water, the barrier parted for them. The chamber beyond took Orion's breath away. It was as if they stood within a miniature cosmos, stars and nebulae swirling around them in slow, mesmerizing patterns. At the center stood a woman who so resembled Thalia they might have been twins, save for her hair, which was pure white and seemed to contain the light of dying stars. Little sister, Selene greeted, her voice echoing strangely as if coming from multiple directions at once. When the stars whispered of your broken seal, I feared the worst. Her gaze shifted to Orion, curious but not unkind. Instead, I find you fulfilling prophecy. Thalia moved forward and embraced her sister. Not intentionally, but now we're bound and the sentinels want us destroyed. Selene circled Orion, studying him with ancient eyes. May I? She asked, gesturing to his hand. When he nodded, she took it in hers, and instantly the room around them shifted, the cosmic display reacting to their touch. Orion felt a gentle probing along the bond he shared with Thalia, Selene's presence like cool moonlight compared to her sister's warmer radiance. Fascinating, Selene murmured, releasing him. The bond is perfect, as if your essences were always meant to intertwine. She turned to Thalia. Have you begun the alignment yet? Thalia shook her head, a faint blush coloring her opalescent cheeks. There hasn't been time. We've been running since the bond formed. Orion looked between them. What's the alignment? It's the process by which a celestial bond fully matures, Selene explained. It requires intimacy of mind first, then spirit, and finally physical form. Orion felt heat rise to his face, matched by a wave of embarrassment from Thalia through their bond. Without completing the alignment, your bond remains vulnerable, Selene continued, either oblivious to or tactfully ignoring their discomfort. The Sentinels could potentially sever it, though doing so would likely destroy you both. A crash reverberating through the sanctuary interrupted them. Selene's expression hardened. The Sentinels approach with force. I must join the Oracle in defense. She fixed her gaze on Thalia. Take him to the harmonizing pool. Begin the alignment. It's your only protection now. After Selene departed, an awkward silence fell between them. Orion could feel Thalia's conflicted emotions, concern for their safety warring with uncertainty about the intimacy the alignment would require. We don't have to do this, he offered quietly. We could find another way. Thalia met his gaze, and through their bond he felt her resolve strengthen. The alignment isn't just about protection, it's about understanding. Since the moment our bond formed, I felt something growing between us, something that transcends celestial and human distinctions. She stepped closer, and Orion's heart quickened. I've watched humanity from afar for millennia, she continued softly, but I've never felt connected to anyone the way I feel connected to you. Her confession resonated with truth through their bond. Orion reached out, brushing his fingertips along the curve of her cheek. Where they touched, light bloomed between them, the visible manifestation of their bond strengthening. Lead the way, he said softly. The harmonizing pool was hidden behind a cascade of luminous water that parted at Thalia's approach. Beyond lay a perfect circle of what appeared to be liquid starlight, its surface rippling gently though no wind disturbed it. The first stage of alignment requires the sharing of memories, Thalia explained, taking his hand and leading him to the pool's edge. Are you ready? Orion nodded, and together they stepped into the pool. The liquid was neither hot nor cold, but vibrated with energy that made his skin tingle. As they waded deeper, the stars above seemed to descend, enveloping them in a cocoon of gentle light. Open your mind to me, Thalia whispered, her hands framing his face. As their foreheads touched, the barriers between their minds dissolved. Orion experienced flashes of Thalia's millennia-long existence, the birth of stars, the silent passage through vast cosmic gardens, the observation of humanity's evolution from a distance, always separate, always apart. Her loneliness washed over him, profound and ancient. In turn, she experienced his childhood fascination with the stars, his years of dedicated study, the ridicule he'd endured for his theories about ancient extraterrestrial contact, and beneath it all, a longing to connect with something greater than himself. When they finally drew apart, tears streaked both their faces, tears that glowed with inner light. I never understood, Thalia whispered, how beautiful and brief and precious human lives are, how every moment holds such intensity. And I never realized, Orion replied, how lonely eternity could be without connection. Around them, the pool began to pulse with increasing brightness, responding to the deepening of their bond. Through their connection, Orion felt something new blossoming in Thalia, not just affection or fascination, but something dangerously close to love. Before either could speak again, a blinding flash of blue light cut through the sanctuary's walls. The Sentinels had broken through. The second and third stages, Thalia said urgently, her hands clasping his. We need to complete them now. Tell me what to do, Orion said, his voice steady despite the danger approaching. As their lips met in their first kiss, the pool erupted around them in a column of pure starlight, visible for miles across the celestial realm, a beacon announcing that against all odds and ancient prejudices, a human and a celestial had begun the sacred alignment that would forever bind their worlds together. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.